The preseason is done and over with, which means this 2-day period is going to be full of roster cuts. All 32 NFL football teams have to make their roster from 91 all the way down to 53. In years past, it was after every week of the preseason, you'd cut a certain amount of players, or gradually working your roster all the way down to the 53 man. However, the last 2 years, 3 years, whatever it was, they made it where you just have one single cut period after week 3. Now, you can certainly cut players before then, but at the same time, you want to see what you have out of those guys to actually get a good look at everybody for 3 straight weeks to really make sure that you want to keep a certain person or you want to cut a certain person. But the Minnesota Vikings today ended up releasing or making 14 roster cuts, taking their roster from 91 down to 77. I hope my math is correct on there. I think it is. But hey, we're slowly working our way there. All 32 NFL football teams have to get to 53 people or 53-man roster by 4 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow or 3 p.m. Central time for us or for those of you that are in Minnesota watching this video right now. So who are the 13 or 14 cuts the Minnesota Vikings made? A lot of them you already knew was going to happen. Starting right off the bat with the Matt Corral. He was obviously just brought in because J.J. McCarthy went down. So let's bring in an extra camp body. Let's put some work or put some pressure on a young guy like Jaron Hall, who absolutely went out and balled out against the Philadelphia Eagles in week 3 of the preseason. So Matt Corral is gone. I'm not sure if he's going to make the practice squad or not. If I had to assume, probably not going to happen because we do have J.J. McCarthy. He is added to IR or season-ending IR, so we won't see him this entire season. Running back Dwayne McBride. Okay, this was an interesting one. Seen a little bit of action during the preseason, week 2, I believe, at the end of the game, and some during week 3. I kind of seen this one happening as last year he was a roster casualty as well. He was then later on signed to the practice squad to get some more work with the offense and stuff like that throughout the regular season. So I do think he's going to make the practice squad. It just depends on if it's going to be the Vikings practice squad because, this is the period where if you get released, teams can go pluck you and sign you to their team. So also tight end Samus Reyes, I believe he was an undrafted free agent. He's gone. Running back Mohamed Ibrahim or Mo Ibrahim, former Golden Gophers superstar or standout, if you will, enjoyed a short stint with the Minnesota Vikings, I think he got 4 carries in week 3 against the Eagles. Kind of seen this one coming just because it was a short notice. Let's just get in here. Let's get some extra work. Let's, rest the guys that we know are going to stay on this roster. So Mo Ibrahim is cut. I could see him potentially making the practice squad right there with Dwayne McBride in that running back room. Cornerback Jalen Williams is gone. Tight end Neil Johnson, which I kind of figured just because we do have some dogs at tight end. We got TJ Hawkinson who's still dealing with his injury. Who knows, or it's yet to be seen if he's going to be added to the PUP list or the IR list, which means if he is, he would miss the first 4 games, but still right behind him, we got Josh Oliver, Johnny Munt, Nick Muse, and even N'Keal Harry, who I think could potentially also be another release or a roster cut before the 3 p.m. Central Time deadline tomorrow. So Neil Johnson's gone. Wide receiver Justin Hall had a pretty decent game week 3 against the Philadelphia Eagles in preseason. It's unfortunate. I could see him making the practice squad just because strictly due to the fact that he performed pretty well in that week 3 preseason game against the Eagles. Outside linebacker Owen Porter's gone. Offensive lineman, we cut 4 of them. Chuck Filiaga, I believe, was a guy who was also signed at the same time. Mo Ibrahim was signed, both of them from the Golden Gophers. They are both officially roster casualties, if you will. Doug Nestor is gone. Matt Sindrick, who I do, if I remember correctly, was an undrafted free agent. So he got a little bit of money, but I do think he's going to make the practice squad just because our offensive line depth is not great, and our offensive line in general is a little shaky. You don't know what you're going to get until the regular season kicks off September 8th. So Matt Sindrick cut, but could make the practice squad, which will happen on Wednesday when all the final cuts are made, or at least after 3 p.m. tomorrow. You'll see a lot of people start get signed to the practice squad. Spencer Rowland's also gone, and defensive lineman Tyler Manoa is also gone. So that's the 14 roster cuts, and they also terminated AJ Green III's deal. Not really sure what that means, what happened there. Maybe the Vikings just wanted to save some money. They didn't really see any production, didn't think that this guy was, capable of being on an NFL roster, so they let go of him. Maybe some other team will see otherwise and sign them to or sign him to their practice squad. But those are the 14 cuts made from Minnesota Vikings. Also, in today's news, we had a little bit of an interesting situation with one of our offensive linemen, a guy that we wanted all last season to sign. The Vikings finally pulled the trigger, ended up adding him to our roster, played a lot, very consistent player, except for the fact that he gets a little hurt from time to time. That's Dalton Risner, dealing with a little bit of a back injury, if you will, not fully healed. We didn't see him this entire preseason. That was to be expected, even though the back injury was a major part of it. I don't think we would have seen any of them at all unless it was the first game of the preseason, because he's going to be on this roster whether you like it or not. I think he's a really good offensive lineman, very consistent, little to no penalties. He just suffers against the stunts, which who cares? He's fine. So plus we have Ed Ingram at right guard, the other guard position that slips my mind, but we should be okay at the right guard spot for now until Risner comes back. But Risner will begin the season on injured reserve, which means he's out at least the first 4 weeks of the regular season, according to ESPN's Adam Schefter. If the Vikings put tight end TJ Hawkinson on injured reserve to start the season, that'll fill both IR spots and likely mean undrafted free agent Gabriel Murphy will be a roster cut casualty. I think he was a DB. Who knows? Off the top of my head, I can't remember. But Risner ending or starting the season on injured reserve, missing the first 4 weeks of the regular season. Not too big of a hit, but it definitely doesn't help us when we do struggle with our offensive line from time to time. The overall protection, creating the holes for our running backs to run through, like Aaron Jones, Ty Chandler, who both solidified their spots on the roster. Kind of seems as if Myles Gaskin also solidified himself on the roster. Kene Nwangwu in that backfield probably also did as well, because he's the special team returner. Although the kickoff is a little different, who knows what the Vikings are thinking in that department, but Kene Nwangwu is always electrifying when he's returning kicks or punts. So those are 14 cuts that the Vikings have made so far. Expect more tomorrow. We will talk about them all. We have to get down from 77 now to 53. So I think it's 24 more roster cuts the Vikings need to make by 3 p.m. tomorrow. There could be more tonight. Who knows? We'll be staying tuned for all of it. So you guys let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Drop a like and subscribe to the channel. It'd be much, much appreciated. Have a great rest of the night, folks. And Skull Vikes.